the most difficult assignment for me because I had to sort of challenge myself in new ways. I had to challenge myself and draw upon past experiences, like I told you how tired I was working at the Roanoke Times and World News. Well, that week, like I said, I got 8 hours sleep in 4 days. So I had to draw upon, okay, I can suck it up. I've done it before. I had to draw on that. I had to fight back emotions to the point where I did not let myself grieve until 3 months later. And the reason why, it was the second day of the tragedy when people were showing up with pictures of loved ones saying, have you seen? And Peter, when we do round robin breaking coverage like that, generally they'll give you a heads up when Peter, who is the primary anchor, is going to come to you. And the director would, in my IFB, say, by that time I knew it was IFB, would say, Peter's coming to you in 1 minute. And there was a point where they just shown a picture of a woman who was looking for her child, or her husband. And I was about to just start bawling right on the air. I was about to just start crying. And they said, 30 seconds, Peter's coming to you. I'm like, so I just had to suck it all up because I can't cry on the air. The viewer's looking for me to give them information. They don't care how I feel. They shouldn't care. They want information. So from that point on until 3 months later, I sort of bottled up all my emotion about all the deaths and the things I spoke to you about a few minutes ago. And it wasn't until sitting down Christmas morning, it was New Year's morning, when ESPN, of all places, was doing a retrospective piece about 9/11. And, great stories of the year. And the piece was about how the football teams and the fans reacted. And I'd seen none of this because I've been working. And all those people in the stands waving flags and players crying, and all of a sudden tears are just running down my cheek, and my wife comes, into the room and she asks, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, well, 9/11, because I had pushed all those emotions to the side for that amount of time. Now there is a slightly funny story I have about 9/11. At one point, like I said, I had 8 hours sleep in 4 days. So we're round the clock. We did not do commercials for 3-4 days. And so I'm doing night runs with Ted Thomas. And everybody's really, really tired. And Ted comes to me and says, well, now we're joined by ABC Pierre Thomas. And I said, well, Peter, because I've been saying Peter Jennings for, 10 and 12 hours a day. And then he came to me again and he said, well, Pierre, what's your take on that? I said, well, Peter. And then Ted said, on the air, oh, Pierre, I love you. I know you were tired, but I'm Ted. But even he had a moment, because that day he was broadcasting from London because they weren't allowing any flights to come back. He had been caught in London. And he said, I'm Ted Koppel from Washington. And he was in London. Big old sign of Ted Koppel in Washington. So, in London. So, we were all sort of... And I was able to keep my job after that. That was pretty amazing. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Hi, I'm Alexa from Tampa. I was kind of just wondering, what's that one thing that makes your job worth it? That one thing that lets you know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that makes you just love what you do.
Ooh, that's a good question. You guys are good. Every now and then I'm sitting down doing an interview, and I go, I can't believe they paid me to do this. They pay me to learn stuff. They pay me to talk to interesting people. And the other part of it is, I know it sounds corny, but I really do believe that journalism is a noble job, and particularly if you look for stories that matter, that get at where people live, like the gang stories. The people in those communities are suffering. So to know that I'm doing a story, which then, after I did that gang series, next thing you know, the Justice Department's having meetings, and, you know, they're talking about getting money to the gang units, you know, around the country. So that makes me feel good. I mean, I think that's the primary reason that I do what I do. Yes.
My name is Kate, and I'm from New York, and I want to know what are some future issues impactful for public?
Again, just between you guys, don't tell my competition. I'm thinking about doing something on literacy this fall. And again, occasionally, and I guess partly because of my dad, you know, knowing that he couldn't really read and write very well. I know there are a lot of people out there like it. And I just saw a story a couple of days ago about the fact that older Americans may be dying in higher numbers because they can't read the medicine that they've been prescribed, how to take it. So I probably will do something on that because, again, there are a lot of people, you'd be surprised, going to school, thinking school is not that important, or, you know, under some kind of family pressure to leave school, and, you know, and I'm trying to do some of these stories and say, wait a minute, think about what you're doing. It has huge implications on your life and society, so I probably will do something like that. I've got a major scoop coming up in a couple of weeks, which I can't tell you about. I missed somebody in the middle. There you go.
My name is Lena Shaw. I'm from Collins, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And you seem like you cover a lot of stories that you're passionate about. I was just wondering if you consider yourself an activist.
An activist? I'm an activist for truth. I'm an activist for stories that, again, people might not otherwise do. Now, 80% of my time, 70% of my time has been covering Homeland Security and the Justice Department. For example, you know, if I were not in Philadelphia doing that crime story, I would have covered the fact that the FBI director had a profound disagreement with the AG, Attorney General. I also cover Homeland Security, so when the threat level would go up or go down, I have to cover that. I cover lots of stories about how the government has responded to Homeland Security in the wake of 9/11. So I do a lot of that. And again, I'm fortunate because they see I have a curiosity about other stories. And I think hopefully they've decided that having stories like the gang story, having stories like the Dropout story. I did a 2-part series on slavery, which I was very proud of. It ran in May. And that was important. It was during Race Week, which is the time when we're really trying to get the most viewers because it determines how many advertisers we get. And I was very happy that they took a very serious story. How many of you knew that we still have slaves in the United States today? And I just thought that was an interesting story to do. And to go back to the previous question, when I was sitting down interviewing the slaves, you know, it took me like weeks to get that interview because it's such a profoundly embarrassing thing for people and a painful thing. It was hard to find a person who would go on and talk about it. And that's one, I can show it to you if you guys want to see it, but in sitting down and talking with her, that again was another reminder, man, this is what I need.